Hello, hello, everybody. This is a topic I've been looking forward to. I'm Tawana Bain. I'm the founder of the Derby Diversity Business Summit. And today's topic is It's About Damn Time. I'm telling you, with everything that's going on in the world, I think we're going to be finding ourselves saying that a lot. I'm so pleased today to have Arlen Hamilton here with us. Arlen, can you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Hey, well, thank you so much. And I'm Arlen Hamilton. I am the founder and managing partner of a venture fund called Backstage Capital. We invest in startup companies. Those startup companies are led by people of color, women, and LGBTQ founders, or a combination thereof. Started officially in 2015, have invested in more than 100 companies since then. And yeah, we're doing what we can in the United States and now in parts of Europe and investing more and more in African startups.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that you all had moved over into Europe. What are you guys doing over there?
Well, what we did last year, because we were trying to do it incrementally with what our resources can allow, we have a 4-city accelerator that we started in 2019. We didn't do it in 2020, but in 2019, 4 cities: Los Angeles, Detroit, Philadelphia, and then London. And in London, we have multiple African founders, either first or second generation.
Wow, that is cool. Go ahead, Arlen.
That's the
All
team.
right.
That's the backstage is that's written all over it.
I love it. How to turn your disadvantages into advantages. And if this isn't the most timely of times to be having this conversation,
Yes.
when did you originally come out with that concept? Because it's so relevant right now. But when was this originally?
Right. So the book is It's About Damn Time: How to Turn Being Underestimated into Your Greatest Advantage. The term underestimated we started using in 2017. In addition to, or instead of underrepresented, because underrepresented is accurate. We are underrepresented, but we're mostly underestimated. And so that's where that term came from. Now there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have that on a t-shirt. You know, it's become part of the vernacular in Silicon Valley and across all startup land in the US. And the book, I mean, a year and a half ago, I set out to write it. And then Rachel and I wrote it about a year ago. And of course, we couldn't have ever imagined it would come out. Who's going to imagine your book is going to come out in a pandemic and a movement, a revolution, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it is so true. It's like, I listen to, there's an audio version. I listen to the audio version, certain chapters, to kind of coach myself or remind myself of everything, because it's like, I think Black Enterprise called it a book full of crisis advice.
Ooh.
That's what it feels like.
That was really powerful what you said. Underestimated. And I can't tell you the number of times I've sat at a table with individuals discussing the ideas of things that I intended to implement. And there was this recommendation, this smooth recommendation of maybe you should have so-and-so do that.
And what does so-and-so look like?
Exactly. Or what gender was so-and-so, right? And so I think, as we really lean into what's happening around our world, because it's not just in America where people are standing up and saying enough is enough, the underestimated part is so key. Because if a person looks at you and makes the assumption that you can't, challenging that bias, that you're underestimating them. How does your book help address that, Arlen?
Yeah, the entire book is a combination of telling my story and then like actionable ways you can use those stories for yourself. It really is. I mean, if you think about just the story itself, like when I take myself out of it, what is this, June? Like fewer than 5 years ago. 5 years ago right now, or a couple of months from then, I was like, had no money, had no, I didn't, the worst part about not having money is like, I didn't know when I was going to, and I would have been 34 at the time, going on 35 real soon. And, you're 34, 35, you kind of feel like you've seen a lot of things, and you've been some places, and I remember feeling like I didn't have it together. And I remember feeling very guilty about that, and not almost shameful, but I felt like I didn't have it together. But I knew that there's something bigger waiting for me. And I just didn't know when it was going to be. It was going to be when I turn 40, when I turn 60. Like, where is this going to come from? And I know a lot of us feel that way. And so I had to have this thing in front of me that just kept me going and going and going. And part of it was, even before we had the vernacular, part of it was me thinking, people just haven't seen what I'm made of yet. People haven't just seen, and I haven't shown what I'm made of yet. And so the whole book is really about taking your current circumstances and it's like you get dropped in the middle of an island or something. I just watched Castaway recently. You get dropped on an island. What do you put together with what you have to kind of get you to shore? And that's really what I try to dive into in the book.
What's interesting to me, about your story is you mentioned how you were sleeping in airports on food stamps, and now you've built such an amazing enterprise. Talk to us about fighting your way through that.
Yeah, it was day to day, year after year, just very dogged persistence and focus, and knowing why I was doing it and what I was trying to accomplish. And I didn't know what it was going to look like. I didn't know exactly what the impact would be, but I knew where I wanted to walk towards. And that was so important. And it was, I can't tell you, I think it takes a few years for things to at least hit me. So it's only recently, like with the book, that I'm starting to understand just how much of a story, like a journey that was. Because I was, your head's down, you're just in it, just trying to make it happen. But it was just every single day having the same goal and not straying from the goal, and also just like learning, like making sure I was learning along the way. I didn't want to be like, they say doing something over and over again, getting the same result, or doing something. I think that's what insanity is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do like I was just going in circles. I wanted to learn. I wanted to kind of take in. I was taking notes the whole time, whether it was literally or figurative. I was taking notes, and that's what was really important. And that's how I got to step. And then eventually people started listening, and people started hearing me. And people started saying, well, you've been around for a few years now. You're not going anywhere, huh? Like, you really believe in this? And I'm like, yeah, I believe in this. Not only that, I'm not just saying it. I've been working with founders. I've been doing everything I can that doesn't involve money. Just kind of building the craft and building that network and doing the thing I say I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my real life to reflect the deck. That was really important.
That's very important. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things I've admired about you as I've followed you, Arlen, is your candor. I mean, you call things out for what they are. Can we expect the same in your book?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. And it's not all angry or anything. It's a combination. It's like matter of fact. And a lot of feedback I'm getting from people is like, they feel like they're being seen. They're like, oh man, I've been feeling that. But it's like, I feel like, sometimes people gaslight you and kind of make you try to feel like make you feel like you're crazy for thinking something. Did that really happen? Are you sure? But I call it like I've seen it and how I've seen other people have seen it, and I say it like it is. And then there's some funny parts, because some of this is funny. Like, there's a reason there's so many comedians whose basis of their jokes are about how racist people have been to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it is funny how somebody can just look you in the eye and say some crazy stuff to you. Like, Wow.
In the eye. Like
just straight up, or just do something like, they step in line in front of you or something, and they just like assume that they have more space than you have, and all that. It's like, this is hilarious. You created me right now. So I like to do that from an observational standpoint too, like have that kind of humor to it, because it is, some of it's funny and some of it's dead serious, and I touch on both.
Give us something from the book, something that you were dead serious about, that you found yourself talking about regularly the last couple of weeks, or one of your favorites, I should say.
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, there's just, it's like, let me think about that question for a second. You stumped me, because I'm trying to think about something that's really
like there's so much.
There's so much. There really is. I mean, I this book is part of my life for a year and a half, but and there's one story, but I don't want to talk about it over and over again. But there is one story I will say real quick, just and it's not dead serious, but it is kind of serious. It's kind of interesting, I think, in the terms of like the diversity summit you have. Like, we think about how it's not always like this is what white men are doing to us, or this is what white women are doing to us. There's like even a further nuance to it, because
I don't know what you're getting ready to say.
Oh, you may not. I mean, there's a story I talk about with a black man in the book, and he's someone I would still work with, and he probably doesn't even know I'm talking about him. Like he probably doesn't even think it's a problem. But he basically told me, kind of as we were looking at deals, and as he was thinking about investing in us and all kinds of things, he said that he looks at the Instagram profiles of women that are wanting, like, entrepreneurs, to women. He didn't say men. He said women, to make sure that they are like presenting themselves properly before he'll make an investment. And I was like, well, what about men? And he basically told me, boys will be boys.
Okay.
And it was kind of cloaked in religion. It was cloaked in, I'm a religious this guy saying he's a religious person and he has a certain standard, and I could roll with that. I was actually ready to roll with him, because I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So you look at, like, overall all of your investments, you just you want them to be better, and you want them to kind of have a certain regard for themselves. Okay, interesting. I don't feel the same way. I don't have to like police bodies over here. You can wear a bikini and still be a great CEO. You know what I mean? But if that's what you're saying, cool. But then he said, no, I don't look at the guys, because men are going to do what they do.
Right.
And I was like, what? Okay, no. Then it was a no. It was like, but that type of thing is like, there's a lot of surface level stuff. And then if you get into these back channels, which we've all been in, where we talk like, these intersectional things, like we're not a monolith. We don't all think the same way. We don't all say the same thing. And sometimes if you catch one or two Zoom chats or something, you might think that all Black people in tech are thinking the same way.
Exactly.
But are affected the same way. But there's difference. And then by the same token, I'm never going to know what it's like to be a Black man who has to walk down the street. I know what it's like to be a big Black woman who dresses like I do, who walks down the street. That's not fun. But I can't imagine what it's like to be, I'm going to be insulted every day. That's what's going to happen to me. I'm not going to be hunted necessarily.
Hunted. I want to come back, because when I said I know what you're getting ready to say, because this has been, a conversation that we've been having, especially in Kentucky, where I am. I've lived, upstate New York, Miami, Philly, France. Like I've been around, and what I found when I got here was how segregated things were. And I was like, this is weird. Like I'm in the Twilight Zone. And but I noticed that when I was trying to make progress, it was people that looked like me as well that were stifling my ability to
hold it back.
Because I just had an amazing meeting with Pepsi. They are trying to really execute on this initiative that their CEO put out to invest $400 million in Black-led initiatives. And I said that one of them said something at the table, and he said, we've been too busy trying to survive to educate. This scarcity mentality of, well, I just got to try to get something because they're not ever really willing to give me anything. That's something that we as Black people have to take leadership of, and telling each other, no, that's not okay. Having a scarcity mindset is not okay. If Walmart and Target can coexist in the same market, if Pepsi and Coke can coexist in the same market, so can't we. And if we continue to subscribe to reducing the amount of demand for us, then we still are operating from a position of lack thereof. You know, and it's tough, right? Because you recognize that those in power that don't look like you systemically have an ability to change things, but then you have that double challenge when you have somebody that looks like you that isn't trying to bring you along. They're focused on them getting there.
Oh yeah, happens all the time. I'll go into meetings with with people who can kind of move the needle, and I'll say, okay, make sure that this person over here gets 2, make sure that person gets a 2, and this person you're going to have to meet. And then I'll hear from one of those people, like I'll say that list of 3, the person will say, well, we already met with this person, but they didn't mention you. You know, they were going for themselves, and it happens all the time. And I do think, I think that, you know, for being real, like, I think people might they think that I'm not genuine sometimes when I say that I'm here to be collaborative. Like, I'm here for us all to take it. I don't care who is the one who gets to kind of hold the trophy at the top. It's not, you know, you can put you right here, you know, and I'll lift you up because I get so much attention. I think people think that I want that I just want all of that. I understand, like, the moves I'm making behind the scenes. For every single time, like, somebody reaches out for press, every single time somebody reaches out saying they have some sort of bucket of money, I am listing at least 2-3 other people alongside it every single time, whether they find out about it or not. Because I'm not here to be, if I wanted to be by myself, I would have just started a company 5 years ago. I would have hacked my way into raising $10 million for my company, and I would have been off to the races. That's what it would have been. But the very definition of my fund is about collaboration and for us all getting there and all boats rising. And so it's a personal challenge to get that across to people, because I really do believe some people think, even people who like me, I think they kind of behind closed doors. I mean, I've heard it in back channels, you know, that they think that I'm trying to, like, stack up over here. I'm trying to stack up for everybody. Like,
for everybody.
We are so, like you said, lacking. We are so behind.
Right.
There's so much ground to cover.
And instead of approaching it from, oh, well, she's getting everything, how about just knocking on the door? Like, hey, sis, you know, I heard, you know, yada, yada, yada. Is there an opportunity?
All day.
And here's the other thing. Not always will there be a fit, right? Because, again, we don't all subscribe to the same ideal. So there might not be a fit, but why does it have to be? Because you just didn't want them to, right? You didn't want to care, or you weren't vested in their progress.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't understand that mindset. I just don't understand it. Like, I mean, on a logical way, I can see how somebody, it reminds me, I don't know why, I just went back to Good Times. Okay. You ever see that episode of Good Times when they had the friend over who was so, like, in their family, if they didn't grab the bread and put it in their pocket, they wouldn't eat? That's the episode that stuck with me for, like, since I was a kid. They were at the dinner table, they, you know, and they don't have that much to share anyway, but they're sharing it freely because you're a guest. And then this one person starts eating real fast and puts a piece of bread in his pocket, and everybody's looking at him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that's not how y'all did it here." He's like, "In my family, if you don't do that, you don't eat. We don't have enough resources, and there's too many of us, right?" So that kind of mentality is what a lot of people are thinking they have to be like.
I was checking comments backstage, and Lindsay's like, "Yeah, the scarcity mindset is fearful. Thinking holds a lot of us back. Fit is always a factor, no reason not to be curious." It's something that we have to lead, and it's been a struggle because you don't want to come out focusing on that when there's a bigger moment, to be had, and really allowing those with the means, both resource-wise or influence, so that we can truly see some change happen. But there is like this, but how do you move forward with that happening if we're not educating one another on how we're behaving is impacting the overall ecosystem?
I don't know if we ever can, because I mean, right now the you should be able to like galvanize everybody and say, look, if we're an arrow, boom, it's like it rains down on us at this point, but it's not easy to do because there's so many agendas, and it's not like everybody has a bad intent. It's just, honestly, people are they just want to make sure that, like you said, like they're trying to make sure they can survive, and they probably tell themselves, then I will come back and make sure everybody else is okay, because how can I not myself? I'm gonna think of an analogy one day, and it's something to do with a net. It's not a net that has holes in it, but it's solid. I'm just doing this in real time. Like what we think is a net is actually this, and it's solid, and we can all galvanize that together. But I'll come back to it.
Yeah, I'd love when you come out with that, because that education's missing. And I, even had a friend this morning. She said, "Wow." And I'm in this work, and I realized I was thinking I was moving in my own world and in my own space with a scarcity mindset. Right. And so, to your point, like you're saying, like, you know what? Some people may not realize it, that they're doing it. They think they really need to get there and then help. Being able to visually or, through writing, educate on the importance of scale within our community right now, that's on one accord. Because it's no different than, I think about it like this. If you have a household and you have friction and drama within your household, things that you're trying to accomplish don't happen as quickly because you're too busy focusing on that drama, that energy, that everything. So if we look at our community as a household, regardless of what our issues are right now, we need to move our house from A to B. I want to be over here in B. So can we just put our differences aside right now so we can get our household in order? Gosh, but there are some of us that can truly say it's about damn time.
Yeah.
We are seeing some progress. We are seeing some collaboration, and your point that you made about when you tell people that you want to be collaborative, that they don't believe you. It's unfortunate because it really does exist. There have been times where I have an opportunity that's came to me, wasn't for me, was not a good fit, and I passed it on. And there's been times things were brought to them, and they're like, you know what, I'm not there yet. but you know who is?
Mm-hmm.
Tawana Bain is.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I don't know how, like you said, people come and hear the word collaboration and assume that it's that they're being manipulated.
Yeah, there's a sincerity to it that it can also feel, I can imagine how to some people it might just feel condescending or something like that, you know, if that's what they're used to. I'm going to double down on the condescension, you know, but if that's what they're used to from other people, then that can feel condescending. But I just put up my banner and say, you know what, this is who I am. You know that I'm not going to be pretending out here. And you know, if you don't know that by now, you don't ever know me.
right.
But that's who we are backstage. And I mean, we're going to be competitive, and we're going to like be sharp. That's good, like to be sharp, but we're not going to ever like even when I'm in a full out war with someone who is Black or a woman, LGBTQ, like in a war, behind the scenes, I'm like, when I'm talking to my troops, you know, I'm like, we don't mess with their coin. Like we can yell at each other all day.
Gosh, yes.
But I'm not going to stop them from that. That's not going to work. And that's a powerful place to hit somebody. But to me, that's not good form. That's not good form. I don't know if I can say the same as being said, you know, on my behalf.
That's you. Oh, okay. So we got a lot in common, Arlen, because there have been some people that have, like you said, all out war. No, they were wrong. No, they were wrong. Just did downright. And it, you know, when it came down to it, at the end of the day, we're not taking food off her plate. Now, that we're not going to do.
No,
we're not coming to them. We're not going to do that. Now, I have no interest in working with them.
Right.
I have no interest in bringing them in my space, but I'm not going into theirs to create any sort of destruction.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm a big believer in karma. So you don't mess, you don't mess with something that you don't
sure.
full circle.
Sure.
You know,
I agree 100%.
I just love that. I really do. I really, really do. So I want to, especially for our viewers, because you all backstage, you help launch companies and you are focusing on the underestimated, right? The book that we're talking about. Share with us some of the initiatives or companies or organizations and just some like exciting highlights with some of the projects that you guys have worked on.
Yeah, so we've invested in 130 companies. We just signed, I think we signed 2 or 3 term sheets in the last 10 days. So that number is growing now. We have, like I said, the accelerator, which was a major event. I mean, the accelerator itself, to prop up an accelerator in 4 cities and 2 countries, and to do it the way Backstage did and have an eye on diversity and inclusion, and to have it be underwritten by Microsoft and others. That's probably like a 3 or 4 year project that was put together in 1 year. And so that's just a major thing. We had 1,900 applications in a 5-week or so period. We chose 24 companies. Our top 100 was insane. Still, you know, hurts that we couldn't get into all of them. 24 companies, amazing companies, and invested $100K in each, and hope to do it again. We'll either do it like we did it before last year, or we'll do it in a verticalized way where we partner with different corporations and have a verticalized. That's something we've been talking to a few people about. But that's just been really something. A couple of companies that I can talk about. I mean, I can talk about any. I mean, there's 100 plus, but one company. So we invest across industries and sectors. So you're going to see different types. You're going to see deep tech, and you're going to see fintech, and you're going to see all sorts of things. And then a lot of consumer. So one interesting consumer story, or a couple of interesting consumer stories. One is Healthy Roots Dolls. Yalitza runs that, and it's a Black woman run company. It's Black dolls. Now, you know, there are some Black dolls in the market, of course. This one, I'm a little biased. I think it's beautiful. I think it's incredibly made and well made, and materials are amazing. And it also has hair to it that you can style and you can wash and you can do all kinds of things with. So it's a really cool kind of concept.
What's it called?
Healthy Roots Dolls.
Huh.
Healthy Roots Dolls.
Okay.
And so we invested in them the first time in 2017. First time I like in the room we made the investment or the commitment, and then doubled down. They were part of our accelerator. They're one of a handful of companies that came back that were that were already in our portfolio. They also did the accelerator. So she did the accelerator in Detroit, where she lives, Elisa did, and has gone on to win. She won the Essence Fest, the main award a year ago on this huge stage, and it was just really a lot of competition. And then this month, she put up a post, and she already sold, thousands of these dolls. And she put up a post this month on Twitter, and it said, "This is the founder, this is the product," and it was her, and her product looks kind of like her. And I got like a million likes and like 250,000 retweets, and orders just flowed in. And it went viral, and she was in Forbes and all this. And, I have been in many, many, many conversations between 2017 and now, but in that tweet where investors have said to me, "Ooh, no, that's not really a viable company. That's a cute little product. That's not a viable company. That's not a company that you can." Yeah, she's going to go on and, really proves people wrong with that. And it's a beautiful, when you see children with this product of all races with this product, and they're just hugging this little girl, this little doll, and seeing themselves in it in most cases, and seeing their friends in it in other cases. Ooh, if that's the only thing that Backstage is ever known for, is making that doll, getting that doll to market, then that's worth it. And then we have 129 others to talk about. So that's one example. Another one is Curl Mix on the consumer side. Is Curl Mix. Curl Mix, one word. A Black couple in Chicago. I met them at a Anelia Williams event for Black and Brown Founders, and I met Tim, the husband, and he took me through all the deck and everything, and I was like, okay, this is amazing, but it's kind of small scale right now. They were doing less than $10,000 in revenue monthly. They were making hair products out of their house, out of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about it. I was like, the way that y'all have been able to, like, you know your customer. This is very niche. This is this and this. I loved everything about it, and I loved the way that they talked about the company and what they had, not only what they had envisioned for, because everybody has a vision for it, but the way that they were like very practical in their vision while also being head in the clouds. And so I became an advisor and then an investor when we had the capital to do so. 2017 again. That was a good year for us. And they had their first $1 million month last.
Wow.
$1 million total. They turned down $400,000 on Shark Tank, or 250 or 400, one of the two, on Shark Tank last year because the valuation was too low. because they had already sold millions of dollars of hair products, and their still valuation was so low. And if you look at the video, a business partner of mine, Mark Cuban, he just says, I wouldn't know what to do with it. He doesn't think it's bad. He said, I wouldn't know how to help you. The rest of them laugh. They laugh when she turns them down. And again, they will have the last laugh. Like, so that's a cool one. And then we have a company that is I shouldn't say it like that. We have been allowed to invest in a brilliant company that is changing the way truck drivers and truck companies work with each other. And it's called Fleeting. They're on republic.co right now they've almost raised $1 million, but it's almost at this point, just them doing us a favor, to let us be in Fleeting. And then we have a company that's sending satellites into space to have faster broadband. They're able to send satellites into space for cheaper and for fewer satellites to cover more space, cover more area. So within a few years, broadband will be so fast on their network, and it'll actually be cheaper for the end user than even a SpaceX Starlinks can provide.
Game changer. I mean, you're literally, changing a lot of lives. Any stories like yours where it's been like they were like on the brink of just having nothing because they've been so gung-ho about a concept? I love turnaround stories.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like what I try, I don't try to take too much credit for stuff, you know, but what I'll say is like those companies I just listed to you, Curl Mix has said that we are the reason that they are where they are. But I'm not going to say that, you know, but they have said that. So I'll, since you asked, because they didn't have any outside funding before we came in. Haute Hijab, which is a hijab company, they've said that they wouldn't have been able to do what they're doing, making millions in revenue if we didn't put in the first 50K. You have somebody, you know, somebody like Ania Williams, who does Black and Brown Founders, had Tinsel. She had the, you know, this necklace that turned into headphones. It was beautiful. And she was able to do something with so little money that it was just incredible. And I think her time was just the wrong timing. Because I think today, if she had it going, it would be different. I actually want to talk to her about that. So it unfortunately, it's kind of shelved, you know. Mm-hmm. But she, like all of these stories, I mean, even if some of our companies went to like Ivy League schools or had funding or whatever, I mean, a lot of times they're still having to explain themselves, and they're still like coming from something, and we're meeting them at an inflection point and saying, we believe in you, and you don't have to prove out anything when it comes to who you are, because that's what they're being asked to do out there. And then let's see what you can do, and let's see if you make it. If you don't, I mean, 50 to 80% of all companies fail, no matter where you come from.
Right.
So, you know, if you think about it, the first few years, I raised $6 or $7 million to put into other companies, which is a lot when you're doing it 25K at a time, like I did, but it's like a drop in the bucket, to say the least, in venture. Mm-hmm. For the sake, like, think about what we've done for the price of one round Series A. Like, a company can go out, any company like in Silicon Valley coming out of Y Combinator can raise $6 or $7 million off of a deck and say, oh, I went to YC and so I need $6 or $7 million. It took me forever to do that. But think about what we've been able to do with that. That kind of, you can even call it an experiment if you have to. Think about that. So now what's happened is Mark Cuban, he came back to me this month and he's like, I already managed $1 million of his money. And he came back and said, let's do more. Let's keep it going. Cause Mark is interesting. He's an interesting guy. He's just like, let's just keep proving people wrong. Let's keep doing it. I've
enjoyed listening at some of his thoughts politically. Mm-hmm. I really have. Mm-hmm. Are you finding that with what's happening right now, people that realize that they could have done more for you, Mark Cuban excluded, just in general, right, that mm-hmm. weren't working with you, mm-hmm. have come back and said, you know what, I made a mistake. Not because you're great, but they realize that they probably made that decision based on race, based on whatever, right? Have you seen any of that?
I've had a lot of people come back and say different things that we were working on, they all of a sudden can work on it now. But I haven't had a lot of people come back and say, you know, I was wrong about this and now let's do something about it.
So they're just saying, well, all of a sudden we can do it. They're not saying.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, let me be real clear. Sometimes you're working with people like within corporations where they really don't have enough power to make stuff. They're trying all their mightiest, but they really can't get higher ups to make it change. And then something like this happens in the world and that higher up says, go find anything you can. There's diversity. They're like, okay, thank goodness I can go back and talk to backstage. That happens a lot. But when it comes to like direct investors, if they weren't already doing it behind the scenes and they come in now, they're not really apologizing. They're just sort of like saying, like, show me your goods now. You know, Mark is someone who was doing it behind the scenes first. And a lot of our investors were doing it behind the scenes first. So I know the difference, and that's okay. I have different buckets for people. I have different compartments for people.
I hear you on that one. Mm-hmm. I definitely hear you on that one. Yeah, I've been, there's been a lot of, okay, what can we do and how do we do it? And, one of the things here in Kentucky, I had no idea that we didn't have any Black-led foundations done. Like, that's crazy.
Right? Period. Okay.
So we're looking at all this, money being thrown around. And I'm like, no, we're creating a Black-led foundation. Why would we need to have money go into foundations that are not led by us and then wait for it to be distributed to us?
Yeah.
Why are we doing that? So if you want to focus on things here in Kentucky, then let's launch our Black Kentucky-led foundation, which I'm so excited that is underway. But like you said, you know who people are. Mm-hmm. If you're really serious about making a change, I will say there are some people that have stood up that have made some, major contributions. And I do think that they're serious, but then there's some that are like, but I don't really understand why we need to do this, and I'm just kind of like, there is just, that doesn't make sense to me, especially when you have so many leaders around the country that are saying we recognize this and we understand this to be an issue. I just, it blows my mind.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. But that's a good point about putting money into companies that are not led by Black people to then invest in Black people, or to do nonprofit. Like I see that all the time on the funding side. Like when they have the opportunity zones and things like that. Mm-hmm. Every opportunity zone fund I've ever seen was led by white men.
Not this one.
Yes.
Not this one.
Yes.
And then, because it's been difficult because you have Black neighborhoods, when they hear the opportunity zone, they become in an uproar, although if done right, can be very beneficial. But mm-hmm. if you got an all-white led organization that's sending those investments in and then making and controlling who is where and what happens, then yeah, gentrification is going to happen, right? People will be displaced. So and it's like, the crazy thing is you're such a progressive thinker. I'm like, am I? Is that really progressive, or is that just common sense?
Both.
You know what I'm saying?
That's what makes it frustrating, but at the same time, it makes it attainable. So, people are more willing to listen right now, even if they don't know why they're more willing. If they think it's for a different reason than what it should, what it is. They're willing to listen, and there's a lot of people who really want to be helpful, and there's some people who are kind of in this middle ground where it's a little awkward because they want to be helpful, but they don't want to take up our time, which is appreciated because a lot of people are trying to take up our time with that, with the education part of it. But they don't know exactly then how to ask you how they can be helpful or how to be helpful. And that's why I love things like Tiffany, can't think of her last name, but Tiffany with an I on Twitter. She's just Tiffany. She's like Madonna. And a Black woman, she wrote a Medium post about racism in Silicon Valley. Like not racism, white supremacy in Silicon Valley. And she was the one who kind of kicked off the hire and wire hashtag. Hire and wire. People are asking, how can I help? What can I hire?
And wire.
Yes. That's how you can help. You don't have to get you can get all the books. Please do, including mine. But if you need a shortcut and a hack, hire and wire.
Mic drop. I'm gonna have to follow her.
Yeah, Tiffany with an I. That's her thing. That she's too bad. She's too tough.
That's dope. Let me see some feedback what we got here. Ooh, Sarah Bowman wants to say, I'm going to be insulted every day, but I'm not going to be hunted. Very powerful. Martin Lindsay, the foundation in Kentucky is Global Economic Diversity Development Initiative. It's Getty. And we are also working with Black Love, which is another. So we're not doing just one because there's more than enough. And our products are different. Getty is focused on Opportunity Zones is one of the vehicles for us. I hope that answers your question. So, Arlen, I want to ask real quick in case we have anybody that gets off, because it is 2:46. We only got 14 minutes left. How do they go about getting your book? Where can they find it?
Yeah, thank you. You can go to it'saboutdamntime.com for all ways to get the book, including independent stores, or you can go directly to an Amazon or anything like that you're familiar with, and look it up. Either my first name, if you just go to Amazon and type in Arlen, it'll pull it up right away, or It's About Damn Time. You can also get the audio version that I recorded, and it's out on a publisher, so it's available a lot of different ways. Apple Books had it as a feature a few weeks ago. Amazon, Audible, all of that. It's available. So I highly recommend it, and people are getting a lot out of it and having fun with it. It's a little surprising because it kind of takes you on a little roller coaster of emotion. It's not just one thing. I'll also say if you're having to go now too, and if you are someone who wants to invest alongside Backstage, we have a new investment syndicate that we're allowed to talk about because this is a kind of closed door syndicate for part of it. If you go to backstagecrowd.com, you can sign up to invest alongside us, no matter if you're accredited or non-accredited. If you make $200,000 or more, or $300,000 with your spouse, you are accredited in most cases in the United States. So we have different deals, and if you don't, we have non-accredited deals that are just as amazing. Like for instance, we have both types of deals up today. One is and let me be clear, this is investing alongside us. This is not you investing in us. So this is you investing directly into these companies with us on our terms that we get to negotiate, which is really cool. And so for instance, we have an accredited deal that has like $1,000 minimum. It's an amazing company, and you can only see that if you kind of sign up and show that you're accredited. And we have a non-accredited deal side by side that my mother and my brother both invested into this week because
that is so cool.
Yeah, because you can, it's just, and that was like $100 minimum. My mom was she was too rich for my blood. She put in 500. I was like, whoa. I mean, I'm spreading my bets, because I give a lot of information on the podcast. Your First Million. Your First Million is my podcast, and I give a lot of information on there about how you should strategize within the syndicate, mine or anybody else's syndicate, so that you can be part of it. Ooh, I have to say my back is seizing.
Okay.
I have back problems. I'm going to be okay. I'm just going to go off camera, but I'll be able to hear you.
Okay, good. So the one thing that I want to figure out, Arlen, is how do we get that? I want to get that information out to our followers, because I'm really just getting caught up on syndicates, all sorts of stuff. Speaking with a wealth management company last week, and so I am really, really intrigued by that, and want to figure out how you can get more Black, Brown, LGBT, like
that's what I want too. Because in the syndicates, you can have up to 250 people on the accredited ones. You can have up to 250 people, and imagine, like for instance, I'll give you this real quick. So a couple years ago, we announced through a public kind of offering that we were launching a $36 million fund to put $1 million behind Black women. And it made all this headlines and all this news. And then some of our our main backer backed out. And that was behind the scenes, and that's a whole different story, but it's another time.
But was it because we were Black women, or was it?
No. It was This was actually a Black LP.
Okay.
And that's a whole other story. But that happened. It happens all the time to me and to Backstage and to people. It's all good. But we weren't able to then, make those investments. So then last year, new headlines that we had the fund fell through and we're not doing this fund, and everybody had this whole thing about it. And I was like, that's interesting. I mean, we've invested in so many companies. We have a new accelerator. We're investing all the time, but we're somehow considered we're a failure to some of these people, and some of these people were white men. That's interesting. So think about this.
I remember that too. And yes. I remember your tweet, and I was like, get them, girl.
Yes. And but think about this. We've been making 25 to 100K checks since 2015 after building that from being homeless. Okay. Which is incredible, but it's still dropping the bucket. With this syndicate on the accredited side, with 250 up to 250 members allowed in each deal, we could be giving 250K, 400K, 500K, $1 million checks from a syndicate deal, because somebody here who is accredited, who knows, oh yeah, I make 200K or more, or I have a fund, or I have this, I'm going to join the syndicate. I'm going to put 5,000 in, and then 250 other people, 249 other people did the same, or put 1,000 in or 3,000. We hand over 500K checks at that point.
I really do. I think I've got a syndicate concept that I got to share with you. I do. I'm not doing it online because I'm not going to let y'all beat me to implement my idea.
Yeah, no, I love it.
I had like a light bulb moment. First, when they even brought up syndicate in general, I'm like, huh? Like what? And then I was like, you mean to tell me I could have been doing, So, but anyway, I don't want to take up all that time. This is for them, for the people. For somebody that has a concept or a product, how do they approach Backstage for funding?
You go to backstagecapital.com/apply. You don't have to have a warm introduction to us. You don't have to do any of that. Just go to backstagecapital.com/apply. If you have a company, usually we want you to have some traction so we can take some serious look at you. And we'll be here. So if you don't have it now, you'll have it soon. Do that. It's a pretty long application process because it's the diligence, that part of the diligence we have to do. We do not reply to everyone, but we do read everything that comes in. Absolutely read everything. We've done that for thousands of companies so far. We invest in about 2% of what we see. So think about those odds when you're applying. And we also have office hours. We had them all summer. They're coming back in September. So office hours are for people who are not quite ready to apply because they know the odds, but they want to be in our orbit and talk a little bit about their company with our team and be with other people and kind of have those live group office hours. And those slots go pretty fast. So go to backstagecapital.com/apply. And I think on that same page, it'll link you to office hours, but you can search around if it doesn't.
Awesome. And when you say you want them to have some traction, can you give us some idea?
Yeah, well, sometimes people will come to us just with an idea, and it's very difficult for us to invest in an idea because there's so much. Think about if we see thousands of companies and we're trying to make the best fund we possibly can, where we're going to be able to return capital to our investors so that a fund like ours is taken seriously. It's harder for us to just back you at idea stage. Now we do everything we possibly can to address you. We talk to you about it. We do office hours, which most funds don't do. We do an accelerator, which most venture funds don't do. We do open application process, so you can go through as many times as you need to go through. But we're only investing in 2% of what we see. It's just like any other fund in that way. So traction, maybe today you have the idea and you kind of get in the website put together and you think today, oh, I need $200,000 to help me build a website. That's not necessarily true. Because we're going to ask you, what have you done with what you have? With the time you've had, the resources that you have, even if they're not, because you're talking to somebody who built a venture fund from nothing. So I can't take too many excuses at face value.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, we've got 5 minutes left. Any final remarks before we head over into networking, Arlen?
Sure, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I love my time in Kentucky last year. And y'all y'all really took my mom out and made her year when she went to the Kentucky Derby with you. So I want to just thank you for that. Let me tell you, my mom, she's 71. She's 71? Yeah, she's 71. She has gone through recent cancer surgery in the last 2 years, thankfully all checked out. She has gone through so much in her life. And I think she may even be watching this right now, actually. And she is just, it just made me so happy to see her to get to go to the Kentucky Derby. I was not able to make it. So she went, because I said, Mom, I have an opportunity to go to the Kentucky Derby with you, but I'm not going to be able to make it. She said, okay, I'll book my flight. I thought she was like, oh, okay, well, we'll do it next year, or I'll see if I can bring somebody. No, she said, I'm gonna be there. And y'all just treated her really well. I know she loved hanging out with Theo and everybody else too who's not on screen. And also, for the past year, no matter what I say to her, like, oh, I just got this, I was on this newspaper, or, I was on Bloomberg earlier, I was on TV, or I'm in this documentary, she'll say, yes, darling, but have you been to the Derby?
I love it.
So I'm telling you, I'm not even kidding.
I love it. So, but I just want to get my mom to stop being so scared and get her behind to it. But no, your mom was so sweet. So sweet.
Yeah, she's a gambler, so she loved the horses, and that's how you do. But I just want to thank everybody in that community, and I love to see what you all are doing, and if as much as I can be helpful, please bring me into doing so. Because a lot of times I'll go and speak someplace, and that'll be the last time I ever hear from them. But you all have been consistently reaching out and making sure that there's collaboration there. And as I said earlier, I'm all about collaboration. So I really appreciate it, sincerely. And I just I hope you'll pick up the book. It's about damn time.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna download the audio.
Yeah, the audio. Hey, it's half the price usually of the book, of the hardcover. It's me saying it, so you can walk around the house and listen to it, work around the house, or go on a jog or whatever. And I think you'll like it. I think if you get past the intro where it's talking about Silicon Valley, it really gets into some really great stuff, and people have been some people have been transformed by it, just because it's meant for them, it's meant for you, it's meant for us, and we don't get to see that very often in business books.
And not only that, right now there are so many of us that are pivoting, whether I know my restaurant, my boutiques, everything has just been hit. I'm having to reevaluate my entire life, coming out with new concepts, right? And so that's why I'm really excited to dive in. So everybody that is on today, please, please, please make sure that you get this book. I'm going to just check for comments real quick. Sarah Bowman, come back. Arlen, come back in September. Unfortunately, this year we've decided to go completely virtual this year. But I'm okay with that, because even with pivoting through this and starting this weekly dialogue series, we picked up so many more followers and people that are tuning into the conversations that we're having, which only helps us to grow our summit, which ultimately my goal with this, which way we keep adding layers to it, is to model it after Southwest by Southwest. They started small, just like we did, and we have all the necessary components. And so this really has given us a much broader set. We've had people that have tuned in from other countries. So I'm seeing the silver lining with what transpired, but anyways, we definitely have to get you back so that you can experience it. Absolutely. So really quickly, everybody, I'm going to give you quick instructions on how networking works. There will be a button on the left of your screen, and on the left of your screen where it says networking live, you will click that button. It'll take you to a screen where you're a one-on-one with someone. You just have to hit ready. And if you enjoy that person, you want to continue to get to know them and learn more about them, if both of you hit the blue connect button at the top of your screen, that individual's contact information will be in your dashboard in your account, which is why you have to have an account on Hopin. It saves that information so you have a repository. So think of it as business cards if you went to a trade show. So I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in with us. Next week, we'll be back here discussing being gay is not a get out of racism free card. And we have a couple, Black LGBT couple, that is really here to speak their mind about Pride saying that Black people is trying to take away their month. She said, I'm Black first. Hannah, Drake, and Katura, I'm really, really looking forward to having them. Everybody, it's about damn time. Arlen Hamilton's book, Helping the Underestimated to Leverage Their Advancements. We have to move from a mindset of scarcity to one of education so we can move our community forward. Download it via audio or download it or purchase it at it'saboutdamntime.com. I'll see you guys all over in networking. Thanks so much for tuning in.